Well, hey there, friends. It's Chris from Rate the Record, and you know what? It might be that time of the week again. As a matter of fact, I think it is. Yes, the NMR. 3 new songs. I got them. You want to hear them because I already have heard them. I'm going to tell you about them, but I want to hear your opinions too. Regardless, I guess because we got to listen to the music first, right? I'm stumbling too much already. Let's get started. Sometimes you think you start flawlessly, and then other times Chris happens. So first up, we have the band Flagman, and I'm going to read the exact description that they have on their Bandcamp page. A deep-fried 3-piece alt-metal band from Orlando, Florida. If that doesn't catch your attention, I don't know what else will. Maybe their album artwork, which is like a lot of claymation stuff, or maybe the music itself, because it gets pretty crazy. Regardless, they just dropped a new single called Hot Off the Log back in like mid-April, so we're going to check it out now because why not? It's got a very cool start with the tap bass style opening. It's like very Claypool-esque, if you want to put it that way, like Les Claypool of Primus. It's got that very percussive, thumpy tap style to it. Really cool, really energetic way to start. I like that, so we're off to a good start already. And this one's pretty wild, too. Like the entire thing all the way through. A very high-energy alt-metal track, so something to really get your night kicked off properly, you know? The verses have a lot of craziness in them too. There's not really a lot of settling points or anything like that. Not that you really need it anyways, because it's one song and it's actually less than 3 minutes. So whatever it gives you, I think it's like ample amount of time for it. The choruses run a little smoother. By that I mean it's still heavy and it still flows pretty well, but the vocals come off a lot smoother too. So that on top of the instrumentals is good. And it's also really catchy in the chorus too. So that's got a lot going for it. And the song remains like consistently hyper through the entire thing. And again, it's only like a 2-minute and 46-second runtime, so there's not like a whole lot going on. I mean, time-wise, but music-wise, it feels like there's a lot going on, so that's pretty cool. And it ends on this like quiet, dissonant chime of guitar, but that's also really fitting considering everything I just went through, so it does have a lot to offer, and I do like what I hear. Overall, it's really fun, and I'm really impressed. I'll definitely have to dive back into this song and probably the rest of their catalog too, because if it's as interesting as this song was, chances are I want to hear it, because this is a good amalgamation of like Primus, Bungle, and I guess for the sake of Savannah being part of Rate the Record, I'll just say Psychotic Symphony as well, so you'll definitely want to check this out if you like any of those bands. So next up we have Better Lovers, and it's actually a supergroup that's comprised of members of Dillinger Escape Plan, Fit for an Autopsy, and Every Time I Die, so I'm very curious to know where this one's going to go, so let's check it out. So Greg Puciato is the singer of this band, and he's the lead singer of Dillinger Escape Plan, singer, screamer, whatever you want to describe him as. I usually like any project he's in. I really like Dillinger. I was actually a really big fan of the Black Queen. They've only released 2 albums, and I don't know how many more are coming out, but still, I thought that was cool. There's another one in there, someone I just can't remember, but regardless, I like what he does, so really looking forward to this project. On that note, I will say a mix of his screaming in the verses and the dissonant chugging guitars. This feels like a subdued Dillinger Escape Plan. I don't like calling it that because it feels like insulting to the rest of the band, and maybe even Greg wouldn't be impressed with that, but that's just kind of the feeling I got from it though. Not necessarily a bad thing, because again, I like Dillinger, and it definitely has its ringing, especially with Greg's vocals. The song runs on a pretty heavy halftime type of groove, and it sounds really good doing it too, so I'm pretty like taken in right at the beginning. And for the most part, up till the halfway point of the song, that's what the song is. It's like runs on a very long halftime groove, but I still like it. Once we get to that halfway point of the song, we've reached this larger bridge that's actually in like this 80s thrash metal style as compared to the last style of metal that we just got in the earlier half of the song. So this is already very different, very interesting. There's even a guitar solo that kicks in somewhere in this thrash metal section that's very reminiscent of Slayer or Metallica from the 80s. So no, you're not going to get that like 90s, 2000s Kirk Hammett guitar solo stuff. This is like the 80s thrash solo, and it actually sounds pretty decent. Not the most impressive solo in the world, but I mean, it fits the style, and I think that's what's more important. The ending sounds really great too. I just feel like it missed a little bit of its landing. I say that because this is a debut single, and you really want to make that show in your like first appearance. Granted, like this isn't exactly a band of new musicians, like a lot of these guys have been around for a while, but still I was hoping for a little something more grand at the end, but we got more or less just a redux of the verses. That's probably the best way I can describe it. It's not necessarily a bad thing though, it still sounds good. I was just hoping for something a little more at that point. Overall, I do say this is another cool track though. I actually really did enjoy this one. And as I kind of alluded to in the beginning, it feels like a subdued Dillinger Escape Plan song. Probably not the best description, but again, I like Dillinger, so I'd like to think that is something good to say. Sorry for everyone else in the band who's not part of Dillinger. I'm actually not really familiar with Every Time I Die or Fit for an Autopsy, but This works here so far, so I am curious for the upcoming album if there is indeed one coming. And finally on the list, we have Sevendust, a band that I know has been around for quite some time, especially in the nu metal scene. But yes, they are an alt-metal, nu metal band from Atlanta, Georgia. They just dropped a single from their upcoming 14th studio album called Truth Killer. It's coming out this July, and the song is called Fence. So right off the bat, I'll say maybe it's in the tone, maybe it's in the layering of sounds that you can hear throughout the track, but this definitely feels like something out of the early 2000s nu metal, or even mid to late 2000s like alt metal scene. It has that sound to it, so it already feels like right at home with where it should be. And I will say, for being 50, I forget his name, unfortunately, off the top of my head, but for being 50, the lead singer actually sounds fantastic. From his low, bellowing, kind of yelling vocals in the verse to the much cleaner passages in the chorus, it actually sounds really good, so it's very impressive, especially when you get to that age, because you'd expect your voice to give out by that point or not sound as good, but here we are. Admittedly, though, this song was a little harder for me to review, only because with everything I just said, there's not a lot that stands out to me in this track or anything that I would consider standing out. A lot of it's very much a product of its time, which isn't necessarily a bad thing because, I mean, the excitement and energy is all there, and that really drives the song forward, so it could be a lot of fun, especially if you're a fan of the band. But, I mean, all in all, it's just still a tuned down, drop A style butt rock type song, or butt metal, I guess you want to call it. But as I said, though, this song has drive. It is fun. It is energetic. I guess you just got to be in the mood for it. Maybe you got to like the style of music. I do like a good chunk of nu metal. That's how I grew up. But I don't think I ever listened to Sevendust. So maybe the nostalgia's just not there for me enough with them. But other than that, I don't know, maybe this one's not for me. I'm not super digging it. It's not a terrible song, though. Maybe you'll like it more than me. So make sure you let me know. And that's all the music I have for you this week. 3 brand new songs for the NMR. So thank you very much for hanging out with me and checking out these songs if you indeed did. So if you did, down in the comments below, let me know what you thought about these songs. Did you love them, hate them, agree with me, disagree with me? Always curious to know the discourse, so please go ahead and do that. I want to make sure I'm not the only one listening to them, and I want you to be a part of this. You know, that's what this is about. And of course, you can also let us know over on our social medias at Rate the Record Podcast, over on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. We are over there. You can follow us. Let us know your opinions on things over there as well. But all of that and more, including streaming links, giveaway links, request links, all that kind of stuff, and the RTR Club over on Ko-fi.com/RateTheRecord can all be found at RateTheRecord.ca. So hey, why don't you go ahead and check that out? Did I say streaming links? Of course I did, because of course we have the Rate the Record podcast every Monday, brand new episode. And this past Monday, we did the third last episode of the season. We're coming to the close of season 4 real soon, but it was the last request of season 4. And we looked at the Birthday Massacre and their album Under Your Spell. So make sure you check that one out and let us know what you thought about that one too, because again, discourse, music, community, commentary, you're part of it too. It's not just us because we're making the content. You're part of it too. And with that said, I guess I'll just cut off because I have nothing else to say and I got to really come down with my caffeine high a little bit. So yeah, let's wrap it up right there. Once again, thank you very much for hanging out with me. We'll see you again on Monday for a new episode of the podcast. Until then, go listen to some awesome music. Take care, friends.